Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca. It's time once again for a TBR or to be read list, this time for April. It is barreling down on me as we speak, though probably you're seeing this into April. So if you're seeing this, spring has sprung, April is here, yay! And April is kind of going to be an anomaly for me this year because I've been under some constraints in my reading so far this year, and April will be the month I hopefully am free of those constraints. The first is my Read What You Own challenge. So self-imposed constraint, certainly. My Read What You Own was a goal to prioritize reading 25 books from my own shelves before I start ranging into other things. Mainly for me, that's the library. I'm a real heavy library user, so I want to be turning to those books on my own shelves instead of the library. And I do want to keep that a general priority over the year, to mainly be reading from my own shelves over the library, but I think April probably is going to be a free month to just go haywire and wild at the library. So where I'm at right now, I think I have 2 or 3 books left to read. I would basically have to go into a coma to not finish my Read What You Own this month. Hopefully that will not happen. So I am counting on that being finished first. And then the second constraint is less of a self-imposed internal or external constraint. It's just that I've been hybrid reading everything lately, and that's been where my brain's at. I have not been having a lot of success with print reading on its own or audio reading on its own, so I've been physically sitting down with either a book or ebook and also having the audio going. Or not necessarily physically sitting down, but being on an elliptical or something, you know? So that's how I've been reading. So most of these physical books that I have, I also know I can get the audio from my library as well. So I will continue on doing that, but I do want to try to work back into my normal reading rhythm and have more just audiobooks and just print books going. We will see how that works out though. It may or may not. So I feel very confident about the actual books that I'm putting on this list, that I will be able to get through them, and other stuff beyond that is a little in question and could be all over the place. So to start with that first limitation, my Read What You Own ending, I do plan to free up to the library, but most obviously is that because of that, I've had a load of holds that I've just been pushing back and pushing back and pushing back for audiobooks from Libby. The main one I think I definitely will get to this month that I can put on my TBR list is A Sorceress Comes to Call by Kingfisher, who I always love and writes across a wide range of genres and story types. But this one I believe is kind of a dark fairy tale fantasy, and that's a great style from Kingfisher, but I always love Kingfisher's work. So I'm very excited for that one. That one's been the one that every time it pops up and I have to push it back again, it really hurts. So I'm very excited to finally be free to get to it. And then the second one that I really definitely will be getting to, I think, in April is not The Tainted Cup. So this is The Tainted Cup, but the sequel, A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, is coming out. And it's kind of a strange genre blend of mystery and fantasy. It's really fantastic. Got kind of a gender-slapped Sherlock aspect. I really love this first book, and so I pre-ordered the second book. I also have the Libby hold. So when I get this, or when I get to this, will be determined by the audio hold coming in. Just how popular this is, I put the hold in months and months ago, and I'm still not even at the front of the line. So based on the number of copies my library is getting, I think I could be in the second wave possibly, or if enough people defer it, the first wave. But I think I will probably have the audiobook come in within like two weeks at least. So hopefully April. The next one is for People April, a readathon for reading stories of real people. And this is A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius by Dave Eggers. And this is his autobiography or memoir. I think it's autobiography. And Eggers is probably most known for his fiction, though this was, as it says there, Pulitzer Prize finalist. But I have only read his nonfiction. So he also writes nonfiction. And I read The Monk of Mocha. I didn't like the person so much, but I loved the storytelling. Like, Eggers is clearly a masterful storyteller. And so I'm hopeful that this will be very much the same and that it will have that sense of real incredible storytelling. So yeah, this is a longer one and I want to finally prioritize it. I put it off because of that. It's a perfect fit for People April though. And then the other one for People April is The Gastronomical Me by MFK Fisher, who was a food writer and kind of followed the same lines in life as Julia Child. kind of moving to France and becoming very caught up in food culture. And this is a collection of essays all about MFK Fisher's sort of, I guess, relationship with food. So I think that is perfect probably for People April. And that was actually a delayed book that I didn't quite get to for Foodie February. So one I really need to finally focus on getting to. Then for Trans Girl April, I don't even know if that readathon is formally happening, but I will certainly continue it on its spirit if need be. This is a book I've read before, and there is some critique out there, or criticism, surrounding the trans character in this book. And so I'm wanting to reread it specifically for that aspect, to see where I fall on that now. And that is Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. And I'm a really big fan of Chuck Palahniuk. I've read quite a few of his books, and I think this is my favorite of them. And the criticism is that there is a trans character in here who does a lot of wrong. But for me, I've never seen the criticisms that people have about that just because it is a single trans character who's doing wrong. Like, the character is so tangible and realized, and just a very compelling character, like a really great, very exceptional characterization on this character. And so I don't really see that as something that gets the criticism, but it has been many, many years since I've read it. So I don't know anymore if my understanding of that was maybe dated and I need to think about it more. But yeah, I do want to return to this and reread. It's also just a really great book. It's very gripping to read. So yeah, I really want to reread Invisible Monsters. And I have multiple of his other books that have come out since I've last read him, since I've been on BookTube, and I've not read them. So I need to get back to my Chuck Palahniuk stash. And then lastly, for the print pile, I have The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. And this is actually like a really heavy book. I realized as I picked it up. This is dense. But I finished Slade House last year, as David Mitchell is one of the authors who is very most recommended to me constantly. And I loved it. It totally lived up to all the recommendations. And so I don't want it to go too long before I read another one. And this one is the most connected with Slade House as far as I know, though David Mitchell has sort of all or most of his works connected in some way, as far as I know. So Bone Clocks I definitely want to get to soon, and I have a couple of his other books as well to get to. So those are what I have in print, and then the one additional book that I'm intending to get to that I don't have on hand that is a definite library pickup is Affinity by Sarah Waters. So Sarah Waters was also on my project to read from authors who I most recommended, and I really loved the first book that I read of hers, and so Affinity is one I intend to buddy read with Tiffany from Towering TBR. Ironically, I believe this is the last book of Sarah Waters for her to read, if I recall rightly. So that will be a fun experience to have us on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum of me very early into my Sarah Waters journey and Tiffany finishing out Sarah Waters' work. So that is everything that I'm planning to read right now, but there are so many readathons going on. I think everything that I'm reading would pretty technically count for the TBR Clear Out readathon, so I'm counting that. Certainly, as I've said up front, reading from my own shelves and really tackling my TBR of owned books is a priority for me this year, so that will continue on all throughout 2025, definitely. But I think that probably my reading is going to diverge somewhat, and there will be a lot of other random stuff showing up in my reading in April because I will be opening the floodgates of the library. So we will see what chaos April brings. So with that, I will say I hope you have a wonderful day in life and in reading, and thank you so very much for watching.